Once you understand the blueprint, you're golden because you can use that blueprint to build words that will turn into wealth.
Hey, welcome back to the show. On today's episode, I have another very special guest with me. It's Aurora Winter with Same Page Publishing. Aurora, welcome to the show.
Great to be on the show with you, Brad, and I'm looking forward to helping the listeners turn their words into wealth.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to go over, but before we get into that, just kind of give us a 30,000 foot view of who you are, what you've done, and kind of what you're doing today, how you help people.
Sounds good, Brad. Well, I am an entrepreneur, as many of the listeners probably are. I've launched multiple businesses in different industries. So hopefully you'll ask me some questions about how I managed to do that. And usually it was with the right words. I've written 10 books. I'm an award-winning screenwriter. I'm a film and television executive producer. I launched a company, raised $5 million, made 8 films. So a bunch of things that we could dive into. I'm really passionate about the neuroscience of communication, and I'm passionate about helping people articulate the message of what they're up to in a clear, compelling way so that it puts cha-ching-ching in their bank account.
I love that. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about is really, how you effectively communicate you and your value positioning, all that stuff. So you have a long history of success in many different things. I can't wait to dive into this. You had sent me a copy of your book, and I've been reading it, the Turn Words into Wealth, the blueprint for your business brand and book. This is kind of like the baseline of what we're talking about, really like how your words, what you say, how you market yourself and your business really is going to make a difference. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to get into it.
Me too. Well, Turn Words into Wealth is the product of a decade of experience, and people can, use that as a resource to how to design their own unique $1 million message. There's also 7 different recipes to make 7 figures with your message. So there's a lot of tools and tricks in there that it took me decades to learn, but you can grab it in the book, Turn Words into Wealth.
Yeah, and we'll make sure to have a link to that in the show notes, as well as your website and a bunch of other information and resources that you have available for us. So we'll have those in the show notes. But I want to start off with, you mentioned it in your intro and what you were excited about, the neuroscience behind memorable messages. Let's get into that. What is that? What's that fancy word, neuroscience? What's that all mean?
Well, what I really love about the neuroscience, first from the 50,000 foot view, there's a recipe for everything, or a blueprint would be a better word to use on this particular podcast. Once you understand the blueprint, you're golden, because you can use that blueprint to build words that will turn into wealth. You can use a blueprint to build a house, but there is a similar blueprint to the structure of compelling stories. There are multiple different blueprints. Some blueprints are for castles. Some blueprints are for sheds. Some blueprints are for cottages. Some blueprints are for apartments. But there's a blueprint hidden behind effective communication. So I'd love to share some of those blueprints today because people can use that right away to communicate more effectively. So one of the key blueprints, one of the meta blueprints, is the neuroscience of communication. So it's kind of like a meta blueprint for, I'm not a builder, so forgive me if I use the wrong metaphor, but a meta blueprint for building would be the foundation needs to be laid deep enough to sustain the value of the building and the weight of it. And you need to have a roof. Okay, so we have foundation, weight of building, and roof. 3 key elements perhaps in building that you can work with. In the neuroscience of communication, we also have the sequence. You have to put the foundation first before you pour the concrete, and you have to wait until all that's done to put the roof on. Similarly, most people make key mistakes in communication when they don't do it in the right sequence. So there's just 3 key steps to powerful communicating, to the neuroscience of communication. And the foundational step is you need to appeal to the croc brain. That's the ancient reptilian brain. That is the foundation of communication. If you don't do that first, you haven't got the person's attention and you are just talking and they are not listening. So you must start first by understanding, get the attention of the croc brain. It takes me longer to explain it than it will for you to actually do this. So what does the croc brain respond to? The croc brain responds to fear, but not too much fear. It responds to something yummy, good, sexy, or money, or fun, or friendship. A little taste of something good, or a little taste of something frightening, and it responds to novelty. So if it's the same message that it's heard 1,000 times, you don't have attention. So simple examples would be the subject line on an email needs to convey what is the value proposition, the title of a book, turn words into wealth. That's what we're talking about today, turning words into wealth. Or another book, Marketing Fast Track. We're talking about, the little book that launched a new business and generated $250,000 of 90 days. Okay, so that is the first step, the foundation of communication, attention. If you ain't got attention, you are speaking at length, but you are not communicating. Okay, so that is the foundation. This I've never explained it this way. This is actually really good.
Would you say that's kind of like the hook? I mean, essentially, that's what the hook is when you're doing videos.
It's the hook.
Yeah, okay.
It's the hook, exactly. And here's an example that will drive this home. So many people, when they're at a networking event, say they're at a conference, or maybe they're at a Rotary Club or Chamber of Commerce meeting, you have 8 seconds to grab attention. Most people squander that attention by saying, "Hi, my name is Aurora Winter, and I'm from Same Page Publishing." That's it. I've lost the attention. Whereas if I say, I'm the author of Turn Words into Wealth, and I'm going to help you turn your words into wealth. My name is Aurora Winter, and I'm the founder of Same Page Publishing. Changing the sequence made a big difference. So everybody can do this. And I think most listeners will go, oh shit, I'm guilty of that. Just saying my name and my company name. We really need to understand those first 8 seconds really matter. Once you have got the hook, as you put it, you then have permission for a little bit more attention. So the croc brain is like, oh, this sounds novel. This sounds interesting. This is different. Could be something I'm interested in here. You get a few more seconds of attention. In those next few seconds, you want to build the building, if you like. The middle step is social proof. This is because the midbrain is always seeking status, connection, or who else is interested in this. Human beings survive for millennia, not because we have sharp teeth or sharp claws or that we're faster, but because of the tribe. So we're very hypervigilant to the meta messages from the tribe. So you speaking to me is a meta message that appeals to the midbrain. You think I'm worth talking to. I think you're worth talking to. That's midbrain. Or to use this book as an example, you can see there's awards on the cover. So this won Outstanding Nonfiction Book of the Year when it came out. That satisfies the midbrain. Check. Other people think this is worth talking about. And then the third step, which often people start with the third step, is the roof. But you can't put the roof on before you've got the foundation and some walls. Right. And that is the cerebral cortex. And that is, you can tell a story, you can give a statistic, you can give some meat to your message, but then you want to rinse and repeat this process approximately every 5 minutes. It's very expensive for people to truly listen. And in order to keep them listening, you need to re-engage again with the fear or the novelty or the what's in it for you, again with the social proof. And that can be just a phrase or a sentence. And again with what is your core message? And so many people, especially well-educated people, the more educated they are, the worse they can be at communicating because they just start with the roof and they don't build the foundation and they don't have any walls to support the demand, really, the request for attention.
Yeah, this is so good. This is so good because, and I was looking in your book and one chapter 5 here, you talk about you're not in the business you think you're in. And so this goes along with what you're saying is that a lot of contractors, blue collar service individuals, they believe they're in the business of delivering the product, right? The actual thing that they're doing. And of course that's important. But from a marketing perspective, like you have to tell your story. You have to get your position out, right? You have to show people why they should hire you. And that's not based on product. It's not based on pictures that you show. Not that it doesn't help you. It does obviously help you. But still, you have to have a conversation at some point with the client or potential clients, and they have to understand what makes you different.
Exactly.
So what do you mean by you're in the business that you think you're in?
Well, I like to tell people they're not in the business they think they're in because they are in Show business. That's right.
There you
You're
go.
in show business.
But I don't want to be in show business.
You may not want to be in show business, but in today's day of media, you actually are, because you have to show how your business is going to help them, right?
Yeah.
And you do that by, the hook, the social proof, and then your meat of your message, and then repeat: hook, social proof, meat of your message. So, and you could do this very easily. You're talking to a prospective client, and you just work after you've had your initial conversation. Maybe you've talked for 5 minutes, you check in with the person, they perhaps give you an objection, and then you say something like, I'm so glad that you shared that concern. My recent client, Fred Smith, had exactly the same worry when we started working with him, and here's the result that he got. So you acknowledge their concern, and then I've hit the social proof, and then I go on to the story. I don't resist. You want to use a keto. You want to join with whatever the objections are, and acknowledge where they're coming from. And then if you do have a story that's just like my other client, and he had that same concern, and here's what happened. Okay, here's another easy to follow recipe for how to communicate powerfully. Then when you tell your story of Fred Smith, who you helped with a similar problem, you want to make the story very clear. How you make a story clear, by clear, I mean, it's not muddy, it's not jumbled, it's not all over the place. So just think through, what was the hell that your client started with before he hired you? And what is the heaven that you took him to? I don't want you to have a bunch of steps in between. This is where the story gets muddy. And people who are experts tend to be all obsessed, passionate, committed to the 49 steps they took between the hell and the heaven.
Yeah.
You actually don't want the person thinking about those 49 steps. You want them seeing you as the entire bridge. You're the expert. You know the steps. They don't need to know the steps. They just need to know you can take them from whatever hell they're in to whatever heaven you have promised. And they need to hear your conviction that you can absolutely, positively do that.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a level of confidence. I mean, you have to have some confidence, right? And so if you're working with someone new about this, like, how much practice do they need to go through? How much, preparedness? How much do they need to plan? Like, if I was brand new, I'm hearing you, I'm like, okay, I get this. I need to start doing this. How much effort do I need to put into kind of developing how to tell a story? Is this, I spend an hour, I need to spend a week, month? Like, just kind of give us an idea of how much.
Well, how much money do you want to make?
That's a great response. Yeah.
The highest leverage activity to make the most money is communicating clearly and powerfully.
Yep.
That's what makes the money. The difference between a coach who makes $50 an hour and one who makes $500 an hour or even $5,000 an hour is the quality of their thinking, yes, but also the quality and the caliber of their way of communicating their thinking. So many people, in my view, make a really big mistake focusing 80 hours a week working on their business, working on mastering their craft, and then they're exhausted and they put zero energy into mastering their storytelling skill. They put zero effort into collecting the stories of the clients and patients whose lives they have transformed, and they are shooting themselves in the foot. They are costing themselves hundreds of thousands or potentially millions of dollars. And here, I'll tell a quick example. You think you're busy? How busy do you think Steve Jobs was when he was the CEO of Apple?
Oh, crazy busy. You would think he'd be crazy busy. Yeah.
And he practiced for 3 weeks with each Apple before each Apple launch. What to say, when to pause, where to stand. 3 weeks he practiced. Why? Because Apple launches triggered a whole bunch of revenue. And this is what I like about powerful communicating. When you've got your message down, you can actually deliver it once, and it can be consumed hundreds of thousands of times. You can deliver it once in a great book, a great video, a great podcast, and many, many, many people can listen to you do that. And then you have that message at the ready when you're talking to the next prospect. or when you have a problem that you need to solve. Most people know the 80-20 rule. 80% of your results come from 20% of your inputs. Yep. Well, in that 20% that are so high leverage is definitely communicating what you're up to.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I was actually going to talk about that in your book. I saw that you're talking about Steve Jobs practicing for 3 weeks. I don't think people realize this, like how much effort you have to put into nailing, the message that you're delivering. I was talking to someone one time, it might have been on a podcast. It's been a while ago. But they were saying like, on the Tonight Show or Jimmy Fallon or whatever, you have these guests on, and when you're watching the show, it seems like everything is just happening, and but they're like, no, that's completely scripted. Like from start to finish, it's completely scripted. When they act surprised, like, oh, you want me to sing a song? Okay, I guess they already know that. They've already practiced it. Everything is scripted. I'm sure you know this coming from the TV world. But there's a lot of effort that goes into making it seem like it's not scripted.
Exactly.
Can you talk about that for a second?
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I do. I'm a media trainer, so I help people get their message down, whether they're pitching to raise capital or they want to write a book, or they want to be on TEDx stage. There's so much practice going into the media training. So you get all of your bullet points clear, you get your stories clear, and then I interview people again and again. So they get it down. They practice. It's like you have to, put the reps in. At the gym, in order to get strong at the gym, you have to put the reps in. But here's an example I think that is a fairly good metaphor for being on TV or being on podcasts. Most people can talk, so they think, hey, well, I'll just go on to a podcast or I'll go on the Jimmy Fallon show and no problem, I can talk, right? But even though it looks like it's just coming off the cuff, they have practiced so much. It's the difference between walking and ballroom dancing. To really be an effective communicator, you have to put in the hours of practice that a ballroom dancer does. Those ballroom dancers, they look so graceful and effortless, or a different kind of dance if you like a different metaphor. But that's the difference between just normal shooting the breeze, versus actually being a professional communicator. You put in the reps, you put in the time, you collect stories, you practice delivering those stories. And a great way is, get a media trainer, work with somebody like myself, perhaps. Write your book, because most podcast hosts, or if you want to speak on stages or TEDx, they like to see that you have authority. And the root of the word authority is author. And then you can spread your message far and wide and reach millions of people.
Hey, just a quick time out from the show. If you're a frustrated contractor who's dealing with low profit margins, stuck working on the tools every day, or doing free estimates for people who are never going to hire you in the first place, I invite you to my private contractor community, the Profit Club, where contractors just like you are adding 2 to 3 times more profit each year without producing any more jobs, and finally getting completely off the tools to never do another free estimate again. So if you're ready to increase your profits, stop doing free estimates, and get off the tools, then all you have to do is click the link in the show notes to learn more about the Profit Club and see how it can easily 2 to 3 times the cash in your pocket, give you a proven sales process that will convert more jobs with ease and get you off the tools once and for all. And the best part is you can do all of this without having to produce more jobs than you currently are. Click the link to learn more. Now let's get back to the show.
Otherwise, you're stuck duking it out, talking to people one-on-one with an ineffective message, which if you put a little effort into the message, your closing rate or your enrolling rate would probably increase by 5 or 10x.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, this affects me personally 100%. And what I'm getting to is like with the contractors, blue collar people, they're probably not going to write a book. They're probably not going to start a podcast, but all of their social media, all of their content posts, if they have a blog on their website, in a sense, those are like mini books or mini podcasts. So like the information still translates over 100%. Like you have to start getting good, start practicing on how to deliver, short form video. Like obviously that's everyone's, TikTok's taking over the world with short form. You have to have some type of video out there, really, if you want to be successful, but then delivering that. Because we've all seen, some of the cringe videos that people, I mean, power to them for doing it. Like, yes, put yourself out there, take the risk. I have clients that are like this all the time. I'm like, just start. You're going to you're going to suck in the beginning. You are, but like it's better to suck in the beginning than not do it, right? Like if the option is
absolutely
do it and suck or not do it.
Exactly right. I think you want to get 100 videos out there. Your first 50 may suck, but what you've already learned on this podcast, if you just do the couple of things that I've already mentioned, the 3 steps of neuroscience and the hell to heaven, and you bang out 100 videos, by the 100th one, they'll be pretty kick-ass because you will have gotten it down. You'll have put in the reps. It's like the first time you go to the gym, the first time you do a leg press. Yeah, you're not going to lift as much as on the 100th day that you do a leg press when you've got it down, right? So lean into it. And I think also perfectionism keeps people stopped because they try to make that first video perfect. Just get over it. And also not all the videos have to be stories of the hell to heaven transformation that you take your clients on or that you yourself have gone through in whatever your business is as a builder or contractor. 80% of them should probably be that core message. But like we were talking about, Brad, before we started recording, 20% could just be about your passion. Like you are a competitive shooter. Some videos could be about your passion for that and the hell to heaven transformation that you've gone through as you trained more. Or just whatever your passion is, like throw in a couple of videos about other things that you care about, because sometimes your tribe will respond to those things. I'm like, I'm looking for somebody to help me with my business. I'm a contractor. Brad seems okay, but Brad also likes shooting. That's my hobby. Wow, he's my guy.
Yeah. I know. Do you know who Cody Sanchez is? You see her on social.
Yeah.
I've noticed recently that a lot of her content is starting to be less business and more personal, like her just running down the road, going jogging or, things that aren't business related. And so, yeah, I agree with that. And I think for some people that can be scary. Like, I don't want people to know about, what I'm into. This is all business. And I made this mistake early on too in my business, my construction business, because I was like, my personal life is off limits. My Facebook, my personal Facebook page, that's off limits. I don't want people knowing about me. And I kind of tried to separate those two. And really, I should have been like combining those two.
Well, I don't think there's any should to it. I think every person is well served to consider what am I willing to do and what's off limits. And if there are things off limits, that's totally fine. I mean, I have a new YouTube channel. It's called Strategic Basics, as you can maybe see in the background there. And Strategic Basics is a communication tip every week, basically. But I'm looking at all different breaking news stories and then going, wow, that's a cool story. And then teasing apart what is the business takeaway from that. So it's breaking news to business breakthroughs on Strategic Basics. But it's so interesting looking at all the different ways people communicate. Last week's episode was actually about homeless streamers in China. This is whole thing with these girls out at like 4 a.m. on the streets with their ring lights and their iPhones recording videos in China, all trying to be the next it girl. It's like, wow, I never knew. And then there's actually a whole like kind of farming of that. They kind of get indentured because they get taken into a group that helps them do that gives them the iPhone and the ring light and da-da-da-da-da. But then they owe them money, so they can't get out of it. Anyway, but it's interesting to see all the different ways communication shows up.
Yeah, I mean, the people behind the scenes pulling the strings, they know the formula, right? They know the blueprint that works, and they just need the talent or potential talent to do that work. And so that's interesting. I would have never thought about it. I would have never known that. Yeah.
I know. The other China story that was kind of interesting is these 90-second soap operas have blown up. So it's like a whole hour and a half movie, but in 90-second chunks. It's $1 billion business in China. It's a $600 million business in the United States right now. And what it is you kind of get the first couple for free, but that maybe on TikTok or something like that. But then you get so hooked into the story, people pay maybe 50 cents or $1 to watch just 90 seconds more. So they end up spending maybe $30 to watch a feature-length film It's amazing. So that speaks to the neuroscience, like that dopamine hit of I have to know what happens next.
I am embarrassed to say that I've fallen victim to those types of videos. Now, I've never paid for any of the continuation of the videos.
Okay, so you've watched these, Brad.
But I've watched all of the free ones, and then some of them like, oh, you watch this commercial, and then you get one more episode unlocked or whatever. And at some point you just get frustrated. It's like, okay, this is just a money grab. I'm sick of it now. I'm out. But there was one particular video where they caught me because the guy was wearing dress blues. He was supposed to be a Marine, and he was wearing, I'm like, oh, now I'm engaged being a Marine. I got to watch this.
Well, I'm obsessed with communication. So it's part of understanding what makes people tick and what makes people keep watching. And I actually think, oddly enough, it's worthwhile for your audience to watch a couple of these because it's the neuroscience of communication. It's the hook, little payoff. And then to get the next dopamine hit, you have to watch the next video. So there's something to be learned everywhere.
Yeah. But again, back to what you were saying is like all of that stuff is purposely done. It's very intentional of how it's laid out. And obviously with information now being so much available, 20 years ago, nobody would know this. Like we wouldn't be having this conversation. It was all trade secret stuff, like the movies and everything would know this. The general public would have no idea what this stuff was for the most part. But now it's like, that's it. Like you have to understand how this is all psychological. I can't talk.
Yeah.
It's all psychology based wording, like how you communicate.
Exactly. And the real payoff for business owners is to look at the blueprint hidden behind communication. So even when you're watching videos on TikTok or on YouTube, notice which ones you glaze over and don't continue watching and which ones hook you. And then instead of being annoyed that you're hooked, notice what they did and see if you could translate that into your next video. Translate that technique.
Yeah. I almost have like an out-of-body experience. Yeah. I said, I almost have like an out-of-body experience where you're watching yourself reacting to the video. Like, oh, why am I watching, 2 minutes of a video about something I don't even care about?
Exactly.
Like, how did I get sucked into this?
Be attentive, pay attention. I was going to change the topic and say the other thing I really love to help people with, which we could maybe get into, is make sure that they have a solid business plan behind their lead magnet, behind their videos or their podcast or their book or even their networking conversations. Like many people fail, not because their message isn't good. That is the usual way they fail. But if their message is good, the second way to fail is you don't have a clear business plan.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into that. Before we do, I just want to add to what we're saying is in my coaching, I teach sales for contractors and we role play. This is back to practicing, right? And so for me, when I started many, many years ago, when I started getting coaching and sales and training, I've done well over 500 role plays. Mm-hmm. I've lost count, but it's taking that much effort to get good at the sales aspect. Absolutely. So, a lot of people just want the course. It's like, oh, just tell me what to say. It's like, I can give you a script. I can tell you what to say, but if you don't practice it, if you don't know how to respond, you're going to fail miserably at it. Like, so you have to put in that practice. So I just wanted to add that part in there. Is like, yes, it doesn't matter what.
Well, and I just want to underscore that. It's like the difference between somebody giving you a list of exercises to do at the gym. Yes. Intellectually, yes, you have the list. But until you've worked out of the gym and broken into a sweat and done it repetitively, you haven't got the muscle. And then when you're on in a high pressure situation or you have an enrolling conversation, you don't want to be thinking about what was point number 3 that Brad said I should cover. Yeah. You want it to be automatic. And it only gets automatic when you've practiced enough.
Yeah. For most of my clients, it's about, on average, it's about 100 role plays in before it becomes subconscious.
Oh, easily. And then you need to keep it fresh. Yep. You need to keep practicing. Yep. I love being on podcasts, but one of the reasons I'm on a couple of podcasts every week is because I'm really committed to being an excellent communicator. And each podcast host asks me different questions. This was the first time I explained neuroscience, using the metaphor that I thought would appeal to your audience. Yep. So it's keeping me sharp and also contributing, I hope, a super valuable skill to the listeners. Nothing could be more important than communicating powerfully. And I can give you tips for free. that you can use right away.
Yeah, absolutely.
You still have to practice.
Yeah. And I even tell my guys too, I'm like, look, when you're learning these different techniques, go try it out on the cashier at the restaurant or the server or the Uber driver or wherever you're at. Like practice the stuff in real time and see what happens. So you have to practice it. So switching over to like the business plan aspect. We talk about this in my training as well. The first thing is, and I'm sure you'd agree with this, tell me if I'm wrong, but like you have to know who your audience is. You have to know who your avatar is first. And then you craft your marketing plan around that avatar. Do you agree with that?
I would start with you and then come up with the avatar, but I think we're probably saying the same thing. So I always like when people are pivoting to a new business or considering a new offer that they start with, what do I really, really love to do? And what am I good at? What am I really good at? What have I put 10,000 hours in? And then who is that worth the most to? I think it's important to start with who you are, because there's lots of different businesses that could be profitable, but you don't want to build the trap. So for example, in the past, I've sold tax shelters. So I have an honors economics degree. I've got an MBA. I'm really good at number crunching, but I don't love it anymore. But I've certainly put in more than 10,000 hours as a writer. I've written 10 books. I'm a ghostwriter. I've written 30 screenplays. I have an award-winning produced screenplay called Eli's Lesson, made 8 films, oversaw 250 hours of TV programming. I've got expertise that's worth a lot and that I still love to do. And then who is that worth the most to? In my case, it's worth the most to people who already have successful businesses, who are already making 6 figures themselves and usually have a 7 or 8 figure business, because the difference I can make when I help them nail their communication, it opens up millions of dollars for them. I mean, I have a client who's selling his business for $100 million. Good communication can mean the difference between selling a business for 10 million or 100 million. So that's who my expertise is worth the most to. But everybody should, or everybody is well served. You don't have to do anything to first, I think, start with themselves and then go on to who's the avatar, and then tailor your communication for the person that your skills, your passion, your expertise is worth the most to. And this requires the know muscle.
Talk about that.
So many people think everybody that I can enroll is my client. Yeah. I should go for it. No. You need to have firm boundaries, like around social media. Maybe you don't have pictures of your kids. You have clear boundaries. Decide what you will say no to. So, for example, yesterday I had a call with a prospect who'd listened to a podcast I was on 4 times. I'm like, the same podcast 4 times. And he read my book and he was like super excited. But he was just at the beginning of his author journey. He didn't have a business to go as a back end. He had some ideas for some kids' books, that would appeal to ages 4 to 7. So I could help him, and I would probably love helping him. He seemed like a lovely human being, but he's not my ideal client because I can't help him make tens of millions of dollars of more money because he's starting at zero. Yeah. And getting from 0 to making 6 figures is hard. But getting from making 6 figures to making 7 figures is relatively easy. And going from 7 figures to making 8 figures is actually even easier and more contingent upon the exact right words. So, I wished him well, but I didn't choose to offer to take him on as a coaching client.
Yeah, exactly. Saying no. It's funny because we were having in my coaching group, we have a WhatsApp channel, for everybody. And they were talking this very morning, one of my clients was asking about a lady that they had talked to about doing some work. And she had told them, the contractor, that she had already had 4 bad contractors. She had to sue the last one. And it's like, okay, there's some red flags here, right? And so we're asking, we're having a discussion back and forth about whether or not this is a good opportunity or not. And the person posting was like, well, I know I'm a people pleaser. I feel like I can turn this person and make them a loyal fan. And it's like, yes, potentially, but there's a lot of other factors going on here. And so being able to say no to the wrong client or the wrong opportunity is off, like you said, it's very valuable. A lot of people want to try and sell every single person that calls them. It's like a game to them. Like they have to sell everyone. Oh, they called me. That means it's my responsibility to sell them a service. And it's like, no, it's not. Matter of fact, most people probably won't be your client. I mean, a majority of them probably won't be your client. And so having that framework matters.
Exactly right, Brad. That 80-20 rule also works the other way. So that client or prospect who had sued her previous contractor, who was complaining about 4 other contractors that she'd worked with, she's very likely in that 20% of clients who will cause you 80% of your grief, 80% of your up at 3 a.m. tossing and turning because something didn't go right or they complained or they're suing you. So it's really better to, in my opinion, define who are my no clients. I would say clients who previously sued other contractors and complain about for them are probably on your hot no list.
Yep.
Then who are your super yes clients? Like they're committed, they pay on time, they're appreciative, they're grateful, they don't scope creep or whatever those things are. And then who are the probably, and they pay you twice as much as you get from other clients. Then there's going to be some prospects in the middle, right? But it's a spectrum. But you want to really clearly define your very best avatar and speak to that person on your videos or your blog posts or what have you. And actually, you want to repel the people who are in that 20% that will cause you 80% grief. It's like dating.
Yes.
Like business is like dating. When you're dating, you actually don't want every gal or girl. No, you just want the top ones to dance with a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I agree with this. We've talked about this. I've even done a podcast on working with clients is like marriage. Like it's a process, right? Like if you're doing a 3-month project with someone, I mean, you're basically married to them for those 3 months. And so you better make sure that they're the right person you want to be talking to every single day for 3 months.
Exactly right.
Yeah, one of my clients posted, he said, I'd rather make an easy $1 than a hard $2.
Mm-hmm. And here's the paradox. I find that people who pay more are less trouble.
100%.
The ones who barely can scrape by to make a whatever $500 purchase, they are so strapped for cash that they are usually full of complaints. But the person who spends $5,000 is usually thrilled. And you may have given them the same result, but one has a higher expectation. You did it with higher caliber materials or what have you, and they're thrilled. So it's not always worth it to bend over backwards and offer somebody really a break-even deal. I would say if you're only breaking even, you're actually losing money. Because people don't calculate the cost of the hidden overhead behind your assistant, your office space, your rent on your office space, your phone, your gas in your truck. They don't also add that in. So if they're just going for break even or a very 10% margin or whatever the case may be, they're probably losing money.
Oh, yeah. Don't even get me started on that, Aurora, because we talk about pricing all the time. That's like the number one reason why contractors go out of business. They don't charge enough. So yes, they have to do that. So awesome. I know we're getting close.
So you're better off not closing the client that you're going to lose.
You're better off sitting at home, not doing anything than going out and losing money.
Exactly.
Every time. So I know we're getting a little bit close on time. I wanted to just ask a few questions before we go. And that's one of them is I always like to ask everybody. And that is, other than your books, obviously you have several books and we'll have links to them, but you can't use your book. That's not fair. What's a book that you're reading or one that you would recommend?
For business?
Yes.
I like The E-Myth. The E-Myth Revisited is an excellent book. I like by Michael Gerber. I also like Talent Code by Daniel Coyle, which says basically talent isn't born, it's grown, and here's how. And the here's how is basically deep practice. You got to be challenged, and then you have to have a mentor. So Talent Code. Yeah,
and then back to what you said, the 10,000 hours, right? Experts say you got to put 10,000 hours in to master something. And so, that's the same thing. I love that. And I also obviously love the mentor portion of it because It's what I do, and what you do is like helping other people is important.
Yeah.
I saw a video. This is all.
It's the fastest way to accelerate.
100%. I've had many coaches and mentors.
Yeah.
A little off topic, but I saw a video yesterday on TikTok. Somebody kind of selling a coaching service or whatever. And one of the comments was like, people are still offering coaching today. Like, this is so old school. Nobody cares about this anymore. Like, why are we still talking about coaching? And I just, my initial thought was their mindset is that they don't understand the value of that.
Yeah. Coaching is the fastest way to accelerate. It's the old path of working as an apprentice alongside a master. I mean, that worked for Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci, and it still works today. So when you have an opportunity to work with somebody like Brad, who's already been there, done that with thousands of clients and has had so many wrong turns, right turns, you can ask him one question. He can give you an answer in a minute and will save you 10 months of going the wrong way.
Yeah. Keep going. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm just kidding there.
Yeah.
So we know that we do have your book, and like I said, we'll put the links, Turn Words into Wealth. And I know you have lots of other books and lots of information. What's the best way for people to learn more about you and what you do? Is it go to your website, or just tell us the best way?
Yeah. If people are already successful entrepreneurs, experts, or leaders, and they'd like VIP one-on-one help, they can apply for a business breakthrough call at bookcall.biz. That's bookcall.biz. And then I'll look at their business and their communication plan, see if I can help them raise capital or write a book or launch a YouTube channel or get on podcasts or give them media training. If you're not already successful and up to something, then the best resources would be my books, Turn Words into Wealth. And you can read up about other clients whose lives I've changed at my website, which is samepagepublishing.com, samepagepublishing.com, because I come on the same page as my clients and help them. And if you'd like more free resources, Strategic Basics, my YouTube channel has a video a week about breaking news and how you can use that to have a business breakthrough.
Awesome. I love it. Now, I wanted to ask this question earlier. I kind of got ahead of myself, but I always like to ask people too, this is like, what's one question that I should have asked that I did not, that you think is important?
I think a good question is it too late? I think a lot of people have that as a limiting belief. And I want to say, no, it's not too late. No matter where you're starting from, you can always become a better communicator. And honestly, even if you become a 10% better communicator, it may double your income. So it's not too late. You just have to decide that you're going to put in the effort, and then put in the effort and, potentially work with a media coach who can help you accelerate that path. But just paying attention, putting in the effort, collecting those hell to heaven stories, understanding the 3 steps of neuroscience, and you'll be ahead of 90% of other people.
That's awesome. Yeah. See, if I didn't ask that question, I wouldn't have got that gold nugget. So it's never too late. I agree with that 100%. It's never too late. So thank you for sharing that. Aurora, thanks so much for being on the show. I really appreciate all your insight.
Thanks, Brad.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. That's the end of the show. You know where to find me on the socials, Hammer and Grind Podcast. You can also go to the links and get all the information that we talked about. And remember, until next time, profit is not a dirty word.